Okay, that should be working. So I'm going to share the PowerPoint with you now. And as I mentioned before, this meeting is all about maths in Key Stage 1. Okay, there is a meeting tomorrow for Key Stage 2 maths, but today's focus will be Key Stage 1. This meeting, we will be covering the national curriculum, our calculation policy, and some helpful resources for you. Okay, so the national curriculum for years 1 and 2 states that the principal focus of mathematics is to ensure that pupils develop confidence and fluency. Okay, that's the main focus in Key Stage 1. It involves working with numerals, words, and the 4 operations, including the use of practical resources. I'm not going to read this whole statement for you. It is on the government website and it is there for you to read too, but I just wanted to point out that the focus of mathematics teaching Key Stage 1 is to develop confidence and mental fluency. Okay, the areas of study for Key Stage 1 are number, measurement, geometry, and statistics. Now, statistics is a real focus in year 2, but not as big a focus in year 1. Okay, within number falls number and place value, addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, and fractions. Under measurement, the children learn about length and height, mass and weight, capacity and volume, and time. Geometry focuses on 2D and 3D shapes and position and direction. And statistics is all about graphs, charts, and tables. So as a school, we use the White Rose Hub to support our teaching and learning. And this gives us some really good ideas for teaching maths, okay? And it breaks it down into 3 areas: concrete, pictorial, and abstract, okay? So for addition, these are the 3 areas that will be used to teach mathematics. Concrete is using physical resources to help support the learning. Pictorial, as you can see by the examples here, is all about using pictures and drawings. And abstract is looking at a concept either in a different context or in a different way. It often involves missing number problems and different ways of representing a context. So for addition, excuse me, the concrete resources could be used to combine 2 parts to make a whole. So in that first picture, it shows you that there are 3 green cubes and 4 blue cubes, so they can use that to solve addition. It then moves on throughout the stages into different concrete materials. So they begin by using separate cubes, which then becomes Numicon, and then into Deans. Okay, so there is progress all the way throughout. And it's the same for subtraction. It's broken down into concrete, pictorial, and abstract. And again, you can see the different methods there. I won't go into too much detail about these specifically, but I just wanted to emphasize the fact that there are those 3 areas within each operation. It's the same for multiplication. So when the children are multiplying, they should still be using concrete resources to support their learning, pictorial representations, and then it should be represented in an abstract way for them. And the final one is division, which is exactly the same, okay? It's still really, really important for children to be using those different ways to develop their learning and their understanding. The White Rose Hub forms part of the the calculation policy here at Salisbury Manor. So here is an example of the calculation policy for year 1. Okay, now the calculation policy focuses on those 4 operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And our calculation policy is broken down into statements. So the first statement on addition is that he or she can count to and across 100 forwards and backwards, beginning with 0 or 1 from any given number. Okay, and then underneath it's linked to the White Rose Hub. Okay, and it tells you which parts of that can be used for it. So combining 2 parts to make a whole using the part-whole model. And we include the key vocabulary that the children should know in this year group. So in year 1, the children should know the vocabulary add, plus, and together for addition. And then it moves on to the methods that are used within these. Okay, so it says for addition that children should be moving away from using their fingers to add and use those concrete resources. So like I spoke about in the White Rose Hub, this is the concrete section. So they can use number lines to add and find one more, using Numicon and number bonds to solve addition, and then also the use of the 100 square. Okay, it's broken down again into those 4 areas. So this is the way that we would solve addition in year 1, and then subtraction. So again, using physical resources to take away. So starting with a group and then removing them to find an answer. And at the bottom there, you can see context. So solving subtraction in a different context, rather than just focusing on the numbers themselves, they are introduced to money, okay? And they use those methods to work out money problems as well. The same goes for multiplication and division, and it breaks down the methods really, really clearly and gives an example of what these things are. So if you are unsure as a parent of what an array is, in our calculation policy, which is available on the website, you can look and see that this is what an array is and this is how it is used. So all of these methods are what the children learn in year 1. As we move into year 2, it follows the same structure. So you have what the children should be able to do within that area, how it links to the White Rose Hub, and the key vocabulary that the children should know. So the key vocabulary in year 2 builds on what they've already had in year 1. So they should know the words add, plus, together, all together, total, more, sum of, and forward. So it's just extending them further. Okay, it's introducing new vocabulary for them. That doesn't mean that they won't be introduced to it in year 1, but they should be more secure and more familiar with it in year 2. And again, here are some examples of how the children learn these things in year 2. So using, for addition, they use pictorial methods a lot more. They still do use concrete resources, as that is a very, very valuable tool. But it kind of links the 2 things together. So when they're adding using deans, they're drawing out the deans physically. They could have them with them at the same time as well to support. So it just furthers their understanding and their knowledge. They move into partitioning to solve addition. So breaking the numbers down into 10s and 1s to find the answer. And again, using number lines, but making jumps in 10s and 1s rather than jumping on in 1s. Again, I won't go into too much detail there. This is on the website for you to have a look at to see if you want to. Now, we are developing teaching for mastery, okay, at the school. That's a big, big thing for us. And mastering maths means that pupils acquire a deep long-term, secure and adaptable understanding of the subject. So rather than extending pupils into the year group after them on the curriculum, a focus is placed on deepening understanding and reasoning within that topic. So we never push children on to the next year group's learning, because when they come to the next year, they already know it, and it just starts a cycle of moving forward. So we really focus on mastery and mastering a topic. Achieving mastery means that you acquire a solid understanding of the maths that has been taught. So it's really, really important this happens. And teaching for mastery falls within these 4 areas: representation and structure, mathematical thinking, variation, and fluency. And within this, you can see the things that fall there. So within representation and structure, it's about accessing the learning, patterns, and making connections. Now, making connections falls within all of these groups, and it's something that is really, really important when you master maths. I'm going to break that down a little bit further for you. And it's here. So coherence, the way that we try to ensure this for children is that lessons are broken down into small connected steps. They gradually unfold the concept, providing access for all children. Okay, so all children should be able to access the lessons. Representation and structure is about the representations that are used in lessons to support what is being taught, with the aim that students can do the maths without relying entirely on that representation. So it's about being able to understand the concept really deeply and applying it to different contexts. Mathematical thinking is where taught ideas are deeply, not just, it's something that needs to be worked on, reasoned, and discussed, and that's a really, really important area. The 4th area of mastery is fluency, and this is quick and efficient recall of facts and procedures with the flexibility to move between different contexts and representations. There's a couple of typos there. But here is an example of fluency and variation. So when we're asking children to solve 6 times 23, there are different ways that can be done. Rather than just giving them the number sentence, 6 times 23, there are different ways that they can do it. And this is all about developing fluency. We don't just want the children to do pages and pages and pages of grid method or the column method. Okay, it's all about doing it in different ways. So you can see this bar here has the number 23 6 times, and then you have to find the answer. You've got word problems, and then we like to do a lot of this, so proving that something is true. So again, it brings in physical things, so saying with counters, prove this. And then you've got missing number problems and problems worded in a different way. So the answer coming before the equal sign is something that children often struggle with. But as they develop fluency, they get used to this and the concept, and they can apply it in these different ways. And it's the same here for addition. So solving 21 and 34, there's the use of part whole models and the bar method, word problems, column addition, and written in a different way, and then also using deans and counters. And the counter example here is a really good one because that's also a missing number problem, but represented in a different way. Okay, I'm just going to show you an example of how this is done in a lesson. So I know they're quite small, I will make them bigger, but I'll just talk briefly through them now. So when we have the worksheets for the children, They are differentiated to support the needs of every child in the class, but they are all differentiated in a way that will allow every child to meet the learning intention. And it focuses on those areas of mastery. So fluency, there's context, and it builds up gradually. The questioning is gradual and it gets more difficult as the sheet goes down. Now, you may notice straight away from looking at this that every group has the same first few questions. This is really developing that fluency and answering those questions in different ways, in various ways. And then as the sheet moves down, it progresses into reasoning, and it's asking children to prove things and say why they know, how they can prove it. And that is what the focus is really on at Salisbury Manor, to develop mastery within our children. There are lots of things that we do within school, but there are also things that can be done at home with your child. So some of the resources that we use that are really supportive are Times Tables Rockstars. This is primarily used in Key Stage 2, but it is a valuable resource for Key Stage 1, especially because the children need to know their 2, 5 and 10 times tables. Numbots is another really fantastic resource. Conquer Maths and Hit the Button as well. I know that Mr. Booth will be leading a session on these resources specifically a little bit later, either in the week or next week, I think it is. But those are some really great things that if you have the time, you can explore with your child at home. They should all have their logins in homework books that would have been given out at school. But if you do need them, I'm sure that the children's class teachers will not hesitate in giving them to you again. I'm just going to come back to the screen. I know that was a whistle-stop tour of Key Stage 1 mathematics, and I'm going to stop recording the screen now.